You're not attracting the woman you want because you're not the man that you need to be. That is a very sobering truth that we are going to be discussing today, a red pill truth, but I mean red pill in its original vernacular, which is simply a brutal truth, an uncomfortable truth, but a truth of reality nonetheless. Very, very sobering. And let me just start off by saying that this is true for me. I am not the man I need to be yet for the woman that I want to attract. I think I'm close. I think I'm getting there, but I still have a lot of work to do. Now, this is really a reaction or a response in respect to many of these so-called platforms that would seek to support you find a woman predicated on traditional values without, to be transparent, they may be deluding you into thinking that this is something feasible for you. Now, this isn't to dissuade you. This is just to be brutally honest with you. It's not nice to hear perhaps some of the things I'm going to highlight in this particular video, but I think it's important that for sake of your quality of life, for your future, where to look and how to be intelligent, how to have mental fortitude in the respects to finding that particular woman, we examine this particular exercise. And I'm going to leave you with an exercise at the end of the video that is going to enable you to actually find the components of what you need to do in order to attract the woman that you want. So I'm here in Obsidian once again, starting off with the red pill truth. Now, I mentioned this is a reflex comparatively to this, right? If you watch some of these very popular red pill channels, might be Rollo Tomassi, might be Fresh and Fit, they typically describe this archetypal idea of the woman that most men want to bring into their lives. So your typical stay-at-home wife looks after the children, is typically submissive and nurturing in their temperament or their psychological proclivity. Traditional feminine features, perhaps more petite in stature, non-combative, agreeable in that temperament, and virgin or the equivalent. Now, I think there is nothing wrong with a man seeking this kind of partner. I think there's nothing wrong with that. The same way women may have preferences that we may at times deem unreasonable. I think there's nothing wrong with that as long as they recognize its value and what they need to essentially trade in order to make that agreement agreeable. I would caution you, however, in thinking that this is something that you personally want. I mean, when I was writing this, when I was noting this down, my initial reflex was, this sounds a lot like a mother, right? The archetypal mother, in that most men perhaps have this, you hear this Oedipus complex, whereby they're not seeking a wife or a partner, they're in fact seeking their mother. And I don't think this is necessarily, or I would challenge you into thinking whether or not, this is what you want. However, this is what you want. A question that many men fail to ask themselves is, who does she want, or who do you need to be in order to attract this? Now, make no mistake, this particular arrangement here, pardon me, this is a valuable individual, right? And there's not a lot of women that are cut from this kind of cloth today in 2023. If you are going to seek that kind of arrangement, you need to be the antithesis of that in terms of a man. You need to be a breadwinner. She is not going to be providing you with any income. She is not going to be contributing financially. Are you in a position where you can afford that? That is a real question that not a lot of men watching this will be able to say, yes, that I can't afford that. I'll hold my hands up, I'm transparent. I can't afford that, yeah? They're gonna perhaps need a salary north of 6 figures and perhaps into the, let's say 100,000, maybe 200,000, especially if they want to bring children into the world. You're going to be working a lot. You're going to be working a 50-hour work week unless perhaps your occupation or your means of developing an income can be done while you sleep and doesn't depend on you trading your time for money. You're going to have to be traditionally masculine in the sense that you're going to be this archetypal leader, temperamentally a leader. You're going to have to be the instigator. you are going to have to make difficult decisions and essentially drive the relationship forward. I don't think a lot of men understand or really understand what that entails. All your family and your wife is going to be looking at you for every given for leadership in any given situation, and you're going to have to show your competence in areas that perhaps that you haven't had previous experience in. I'm not highlighting this to dissuade anybody. I'm highlighting it because I don't want you to be naive in, fundamentally what that looks like. You're going to have to keep yourself in good shape. I think going to the gym for a minimum of 4 days per week, a high degree of status as well. Your wife is going to draw value from you in terms of the connections that you have, the social connections that you have, and your network fundamentally. Now, if you look at this list, breadwinner, north of 6-figure salary, 50+ hour work week, traditionally masculine, works out minimum 4 days a week, high degree of status, temperamentally a leader. How many of those can you check off? If I'm going to be honest and transparent with myself, I probably work more than 50 hours a week. Traditionally masculine, works out minimum 4 days a week. I think my status is developing. I think temperamentally I have a lot of eggs in the basket in terms of a leader. I'm slowly closing in on number 2, but I'm not to the point where I can fully support somebody else on my salary plus children. That is not going to happen. So the question is, and this follows a little yes and no path. If the answer is, however, yes, your next step is to develop outreach systems for below leads. And that might look like asking yourself the question, where do you find these kind of women? Are they at church? Do they go to the gym? Are they in yoga classes? Where do these kind of women congregate? And how can you start developing a lead magnet? You developing a means to find more and more leads of this kind of caliber of woman. If the answer is no, develop systems to achieve the above. Now, of course, we might be splitting hairs and saying that, look, not every single woman like this, or nobody is going to require all of these characteristics, and equally, she's not going to require all of those characteristics. But the real irk for me is when most men read or watch or listen to these kind of channels that spout this kind of rhetoric in respects to this is the minimum expectations that we have, they typically do not highlight what the equivalent is for you to encapsulate, for the characteristics you need to embody, for the assets you need to have. As much as we'd like to think that we can just be ourselves and that will be good enough, and that sounds more like a feminine narrative than it is a masculine narrative, when you get into a relationship, you are trading. You are trading things. You might be trading more of your financial security for more of her youth and good looks. You might be trading a lot of your time in terms of the hours spent at work for your partner to be able to raise your children. It is all a trade-off. And both of you are going to be reasoning that kind of arrangement in some form or another. Now, can I just say at this point, I don't want this. This is nice, right? There's a lot of things I value in here, but I've been doing a lot of really deep work, a lot of deep thinking about the kind of partner and the kind of man I need to be for the partner I want. And it's not this, which goes against perhaps some of the YouTubers that you're watching. I would not feel comfortable with my partner not contributing financially in some way or another to the relationship. That's just me. That's just me. I don't think, I think whereas, a virgin or the equivalent is certainly something that is preferable because the data does suggest that minimal sexual partners does equate to long-term monogamy success. I think having partners below 3, 4 is the equivalent, and I think I would be content with that. And to be honest, I'm interested for you gentlemen, if asking that kind of question is part of your disqualifying process. This is a very difficult piece of information to ascertain, especially when you're disqualifying future partners. However, I do believe I am not wrong in saying that there is a certain kind of woman who their sexual partners might as well, that number might as well be tattooed on their forehead in respects to how they carry themselves, how they talk, and how they dress themselves and how they present themselves to the world. And those individuals are immediately disqualified. Then again, individuals may be more subtle or secretive about that particular fact. I'd be interested to get your perspective on this. And I don't think I would necessarily describe my future partner by that title of a typical home wife, stay-at-home wife. That's just me. I think what would be a very valuable exercise for you gentlemen is to create the equivalent of this, but what you want. So for example, some of the things that are missing for me are factors that include spirituality, or spiritually inclined or religiously inclined, at least. I would like my partner to be intellectual. I would like her to her to be able to contend with me, to challenge me, to push me in that respect, and help support my understanding and reasoning of the world. That might be a challenge for some men, or perhaps that's not an important factor for some men, but that is an important factor for me. What else goes on your list? What else, if you're, again, creating a similar kind of flow chart to me, what else is in that list? And as a consequence, like if spirituality and an intellectual temperament or characteristic is important for you, would that not equally mean that you need to be open to different religions in your life and perhaps not be closed off to just one religion? And if you're going to be intellectually combative or challenging somebody, it would mean that you need to fundamentally be book savvy and well read in that respect. So I'm interested to see how this particular graph hits you, what you would include, who you need to be. And these aren't theories, gentlemen, these are facts. Speak very soon.